Victoria's Supreme Court has approved a $70 million class action settlement for 1,300 current and former detainees on Manus Island. The group of asylum seekers and refugees had sought compensation from the Australian government, claiming they were detained illegally and they'd suffered physical and psychological harm while being held. The payout is the largest human rights settlement in Australian legal history. Reporter James Oaten joins us now live from Melbourne. So James, tell us more about the class action and what the court said in approving it.
Well, this was a settlement, a deal that was reached between the detainee lawyers a couple of months ago and the Commonwealth, and that is for, as you mentioned, the false imprisonment of people on Manus Island for over a period of several years, and also damages for negligence. And this stems from a PNG Supreme Court case that determined these people were being held on the island illegally. So despite the fact that both parties did agree on this sum of $70 million in compensation, the judge had to obviously approve that and decide whether it was a fair and reasonable sum to get an adequate level of compensation for those who have, I guess, suffered on the island over those years. And certainly today, Justice Macaulay decided it was a fair and reasonable sum. Particularly, one of the reasons why is it's a large enough figure so it can accommodate personal circumstances, those who have been detained longer or those who have suffered more, suffered poorer health. But also, he said it's in the interests of everyone to get this matter resolved quickly. Otherwise, if this was taken further, you'd end up with a court case that would go for years and years.
James, what's been the reaction from the detainees to the result?
Well, the $70 million figure, I would say, wouldn't have come as much of a surprise today's decision, considering that both parties had agreed. We do know that some detainees simply aren't happy with this compensation. They kind of see it more as hush money. And of the around 1,900 people who are eligible for compensation, we have 56 so far that have decided that they won't be taking part in this settlement, and they'll be looking at other options. Ultimately, they just feel this won't help their circumstances to any great degree. They're still on Manus Island. But the lawyers defending or representing all the plaintiffs, well, they say that now that this deal has been reached, it does send a strong message, and they think that of those remaining who haven't quite signed up yet, they think that more will come on board. Let's have a listen to one of the lawyers, Rory Walsh.
These people have been held in extraordinary conditions. What we can do as lawyers is we believe that their rights were breached. We took the case. We want to establish that the Commonwealth owed a duty to them. We think by virtue of the fact that the Commonwealth and their subcontractors have settled with us, we've made that out. We fought hard. We got a good outcome. We were very pleased and the court thought it was a good outcome, and there's no hesitation in approving that today.
So, James, what happens now?
Well, now the lawyers will try and determine who is entitled to what. Given that there's so many people here and so many individual circumstances, you can imagine that might be a difficult task. That was certainly something that was raised in the courtroom, but when we did speak to the lawyers outside, they say that there is enough documentation to kind of reach a mathematical way of approaching this. We do know how long each individual was on Manus Island for. We do have access to medical records, so they're going to be working out who is entitled to what. And as I mentioned earlier, it still really comes down to reaching out to those people who still actually haven't signed up to this class action. We still have 215 people who are still awaiting, we're still awaiting to hear back from whether or not they will sign up to the class action. So the judge did push the deadline back. It was due to expire at the end of this month. It will now be in October.
James, thank you.